Pow, Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another edition of For the Love of Dog. I'm Steve McLean, co-founder of the Little Red Dog. I'm here with my partner, Mr. Gary Newcomb, our head trainer. Gary, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not tired like I normally am after the adoption event. Sam might be tired. Sam had to work really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely puts in the work.
He does put in the work.
Did you show up, look handsome, and
I don't know how he does it. Did you have a training session yesterday?
I did not have a Little Red Dog training session yesterday.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I had a training session.
Good. Was that for your medical stuff?
No.
Or you're done with that, right?
Yep,
You got your license?
all done with that. I
Okay.
actually did a class and recertified for phlebotomy for that as well. So
Hey, Newcomb isn't just a dog trainer. He is a man of many talents. He just recently got his license. He's thinking about, not thinking, he's going to be a EMT, right? EMT?
Yep.
Is that? Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. All right. Anyway, so we're all about, again, science, dog behavior. Gary and I always try to bring, again, biology, facts, logic to dog training. And because of that, I'm always trying to kind of do a little bit of research when I have time. And one thing that's kind of fascinating me lately is I read an article, and it talked about the increase of meds being delivered to dogs. And it's all behavioral based, in other words. And a huge increase from, I think the articles talked about 2018, 2019. So in 2018 to 2019, there was a 25% increase in the amount of drugs given to dogs, doggy downer, for lack of a better term. And there's many drugs on the market right now. But I guess what really fascinated me about it is, I think, in my opinion, I haven't done a study, I haven't dived into it, but to me, that's a ridiculous amount.
Oh yeah.
I think. Because if you just think about the math and you think about, dogs are pack animals, there's an alpha, there's a beta, a couple of betas, but most of the dogs are omegas. Just mathematically speaking, this would mean that, the majority of dogs should go with the program.
Yeah.
Should not need,
if correctly shown the program.
right, and should not need these meds. And what you just said, in my opinion, is what I want to talk about, is we're so quick to deliver chemicals instead of doing the work.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I see it.
Well, that's also an argument that's going on with behavioral modification drugs for children.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm going to go out on a limb that obviously I'm not against behavioral modification drugs when necessary.
Sure, of course.
But there's probably a lot of people for the same exact issue that fail to set boundaries for their kids.
Right.
And then think, my kid's out of control, he needs to be put on Ritalin.
Right. Yeah,
So-
and like you said, there's a legitimate reason to put children on Ritalin or the other,
Yes.
drugs, being autistic,
Yes.
bipolar, all this.
No, I had a hyperactive brother, and literally, he would run circles around the walls. He wouldn't even touch the ground. He was
Really?
on the go. Yeah. So I am 100%
So you get
certain,
it.
yes, that there are calls where that is needed. But I think that the standpoint that I take on that, as well as for dogs, is you need to first make sure that it is an issue that can't be handled with normal training and boundaries. If it isn't, then even when you put your dog on those, that you should probably still be trying to work towards, getting your dog to the lowest level of medication.
Right.
So you're going to still be needing to do the other behavior modifications, the training, holding your boundaries, all of that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, if your plan is to not do that, you're going to ramp the level of dope that you have to give your dog way up.
Dope.
If you're not going to knock their boundaries down on any other way to
Right.
modify them, then
Right, and that's what's getting me a little frustrated is, and I can count on many hands and feet and everything over the years how many situations like this we've been in where a vet has put a dog on whatever type of medication to get the dog to calm down, and 100% of those instances that the Little Red Dog has been involved in, we were able just to get the dog completely off and with structure, exercise off.
yeah.
And what's making me mad is when you just said it, is every time a vet does this, it's always long term.
Yes.
It's never short term. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're gonna be doing this while you get your dog on a program.
Yep. Well, I think that, it's kind of like you went to a plumber to ask what's wrong with your car.
Sure.
Your dog has behavioral issues. You go see a dog trainer, someone who's aware of what your dog is thinking.
Right.
You don't go to a medical doctor
No.
to ask them what your dog is thinking.
And every owner in the world thinks, okay, I have a problem mentally with my dog. I need to go to the vet.
Yes.
And even vets will admit, every vet that I've talked to about this topic, about dog behavior, they always complain that they don't receive a lot of information and study this in school. And it makes sense because
Yeah.
they have to dive into every animal on the planet.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's unfair, in my opinion, it's very unfair to expect a vet to understand the basics of dog
I
behavior.
use dog behavior for everything. If I'm
I
assessing why a
agree.
dog is, acting a certain way, I'm running through, could it be a medical
Could it be a
issue? But I'm
physical
still
problem?
looking through,
Right.
all of the behavior issues to give me those cues.
Right. No, I agree. And and again, what made me started thinking about this, and I asked you about this just before the show, is I would love to understand the math, and no one's ever going to do this or study it because it's almost an impossible scenario. But and again, it doesn't make sense if a majority of the dogs are going to be omegas, and then they should get along with the program once, like as you so eloquently put it, once the dog has been shown the program,
Yes.
right? So I would love to know, if we tag betas, how many betas genetically should there be? That's
Yeah.
almost an impossible. For me, it's really hard for me to sometimes pick out, hey, that's definitely a beta dog. That's one of the most difficult.
The problem with it is quantifying what makes the qualifications for each category.
Right.
There is no limit. There is no measurement. A dog that's a beta in one situation, when you put them in a situation with
Right.
other dogs that have other power levels, would be forced down to an omega. It's a sliding scale.
It's like human beings.
Yes.
We feel comfortable in, say, a sports environment, but we go to a cocktail party and, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, you put me in a tuxedo, and now all of a sudden this big, mean
Right.
guy is very
Right.
uncomfortable, sweating palms.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, it's all it's really dependent. So that would be a hard one to quantify. How many betas, alphas, omegas, as to what it is. But I would definitely guess that most dogs fall somewhere between the low beta to omega status.
Right. And so I think the point, I don't want to put it out there that if your dog's on doggy downers to immediately stop doing it.
No,
Because first of all,
absolutely
it's a
not.
bad idea.
Yes.
Okay. And then number two, I'm not saying that they don't have their place. It is my opinion that if we were to dive into a study, I would bet that 95% of the time when a vet does prescribe these meds, it's incorrect.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's high as 95%.
Yeah,
In my
obviously,
opinion.
that's a hard one to do, but
Yeah.
like you said, they don't have a background in dog
No.
behavior to say, and,
No.
and it's like we run into sometimes.
Sure.
When I come into a lesson, I have to evaluate the dog, but I'm also evaluating the owner.
Oh,
do the vets have
absolutely.
do the vets have the ability to evaluate the structure level the
No.
dog's under? How often they're getting walked, all of that stuff that really plays a big role into how balanced the dog is.
The one and another reason why I love Dr. Kim at SOC is he is one of the few exceptions to the rule. He is hardcore. He has hardcore knowledge about dog behavior, and I think it's just from experience because he started his career in dog rescue.
Yeah.
So if your ass is going to be paying attention, you're going to learn a lot of things, whether you want to learn them or not, right? And I think the other reason why vets love, I think before I say this, vets have it's a double-edged sword with relationships with dog rescue.
Yes.
Because they're nice enough to give us a discount, which I'm sure drives them crazy, because we do ask for a heavy discount, and their time is worth a lot. So I get it. However, I think that the one reason why they love dog rescues is because they get to see cases that they would never see in the real world.
Absolutely.
And they do love that.
Yeah.
I was talking
and
to the vet.
I imagine that it's like us, that's the rewarding side of it. I do private training,
Right.
and I do this, and most of my clients are Newport Beach. They're the rich and
Purchase
famous
dogs.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're the
purchase
rich and
dogs.
famous breeder dogs.
Yeah.
So to get to come over to rescue and work with rescue dogs is far by more rewarding.
I agree. And then kind of to backpedal a little bit, the dog we just rescued, Henry VIII. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we rescued him from another. I don't want to mention the rescue, but we were asked by another rescue to take this little terrier over, and and the rescue said, hey, this terrier, you know, we have to give him up because he's biting everybody. And I kind of made the mistake of letting my eyes make the decision, and because you know, we're just so used to bigger dogs and dealing with that, and so you kind of, unfortunately for me, get locked down going down this street of it's a small dog. Come on, people, just control it, right? So of course I said, yeah, please, we'll do it. Well, unbeknownst to me, they had the dog on doggy downers, and when this is why it's important to listen to this story, because we just talked about this. What's important is when we got there, when I met the dog, they told me, well, we have the dog on some meds to calm his ass down because he just bit someone. And the dog was being great. So oh, great. So part of the reason why the dog's being great probably is
hard to eval. Yeah.
So I was already, up to my knees and saying yes. So of course I took the dog. The mistake I made, and I always do this, and I guess I don't learn, is I always do get the dog off cold turkey. You should taper the dog off.
Absolutely.
You should totally taper the dog off. The reason why I decided not to is because I was taking him to a doggy daycare, and this particular place, you might as well be talking to the wall if you're going to say taper this dog off. So I said and in my brain,
complex instructions sometimes lose it.
Right, and in my tiny brain, I'm thinking it'll be okay. Well, as he's coming down, he bites 3 of our volunteers, like boom, boom, boom. Within 2 days, he bites 3 people. And so I'm freaking out a little bit because I'm the one that's on the line for this. It's rare that I save a dog. You know that. Yeah. It's really rare. That's PJ and Kelly right?
Yeah. Especially the trouble cases. The farther it goes into it, you're more of a realist like that. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, we can't.
We're going to put the effort of 10 dogs into this one dog. That's not a good
idea.
Yeah.
So I'm freaking out, but in the back of my brain, I'm thinking, once he comes completely down, he'll be okay. And luckily he was. The point of the story, this story is, I always like to share my failures. So if you are in this boat and you have a dog that is on meds currently, in my opinion, seek out a dog behavioralist, get your dog on a routine, get some exercise going, and taper the dog off.
Yes.
Really try. And I think you're going to have a lot more success than if you keep the dogs on meds his whole life.
Yep.
And that's a sad
situation. There's also transitions. A lot of people are transitioning off of the full-on behavioral modification drugs onto CBD. So, a more natural solution to some of the behavioral issues.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think, was it like 5 years ago? I think companies started saying, hey, try CBD. Would you say it's more than 5 years? Sam, what do you think?
Probably major in the dog market was 5 years ago.
And I have to say, I was pretty skeptical on using it. But some dogs, it has helped.
Yeah. No, absolutely it does. For a dog that needs a certain level of help, it will definitely knock the curve down. And like you said, you're looking at the basic minimum level of medding that you have to do to be able to use your regular behavioral modifications that every dog owner has to use. You want to get them to that level. You're not looking to get your dog where they're sleeping all day. So just get the bare minimum that you need to be able to grab control and do it the regular way. And then eventually, if you have control, that in that situation, maybe you can taper them all the way off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you can, but I'm basing it on my small model.
Yes.
And over the years, we've probably had 25, 30 dogs in this situation. And again, one thing I do know for sure is 100%, whatever that number is in our program, 100% of those dogs, we got them off and back on a decent program. And the owners are always so thrilled because they're always so downhearted about having their dog. Like, nobody wants to put their dog or their self on meds their entire life, right?
It almost, in addition to just the med, it almost feels when you're talking about behavioral modifications that you're somehow diluting their spirit.
Yes.
So, you want your dog to be 100% unleaded them. You don't want to be, until your dog's, going crazy. And then you make that call, okay, your dog is too much dog. We need to bring that down. So, but in general, I don't think that people want to dilute their dog's spirit. They want their dog to be the free spirit. That's what makes them the great unconditional lovers and all of that we want to have them around for.
That's a good point.
So, but when that becomes a problem, I think that I agree that people are too quick to think that, I've got a turnkey solution to what I can do. I can put this dog on meds and it's going to be fine, and then we can go on with our normal life.
Yeah, and as human beings, throwing money at a problem always seems better than putting the actual work in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I've got enough things that take my time. And,
right.
That's the problem, is that your dog takes a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and that's a whole other topic, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time. If the dog's not at least third on your priority list, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll take a break here. I think that's a perfect spot. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Please subscribe. And also,
where's my Valium?
Hey, if you don't have any Valium, then, just hang out with us all day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Steve with the Little Red Dog. This has been another edition of For the Love of Dog. Please subscribe. You can, join us on littlereddog.org. Take care, everybody.
Later.
Hey, everybody. When you save dogs, you need funding. Our next fundraiser is Putts for Paws 2020. 2020 because we couldn't do anything last year. So please log on to putsforpaws2020.com to get all the details about how you can help us at this year's golf fundraiser. You can golf, you can volunteer, you can donate. We need you. I don't care if you're Tiger Woods. I don't care if you've never played golf or know what a golf club is. You can still play. It's fun for everyone. It's a shotgun start. Doesn't matter what level you are. Lots of fun. We need you. We need sponsors. We need players. Please. putsforpaws2020.com. Thank you. Oh my gosh. We have just enough money for him, our show.
All right.
I think so.
The lights are
maybe
dimming.
two. Yeah. They're flickering. Oh my God.
Put more gas in the generator.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is another edition of For the Love of Dog. I'm Steve McLean, co-founder of the Little Red Dog. Whoop, what? I'm here with Gary Newcomb. As always, he's here to help me look good. That's a lot of help. It's hard for me to look good. Gary Newcomb is our head dog trainer and behavioral expert. Gary, how are you?
I am doing well.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Very good.
Having a good week?
Yes. I think hopefully it'll last. I'd like the whole nation, we're feeling a little bit more optimistic. Getting vaccinated. People are getting back to work.
Yeah. County's opening up. We've gone down to orange tier, I think we're at now.
What the hell is up with the stupid ass colors? Make the worst color red.
Yeah.
Why? Red is a good color.
Yeah, to have a color beyond red to the purple tier.
Yeah, what is purple means nothing to me. Purple means wine, I guess.
Yeah. It's scary to me actually to think that we need to move forward to the red tier. How far out are we if we have to move forward to the red tier? But we're past it now.
And how many colors are there? There's way too many colors. 3 is all you need.
Yeah.
In my opinion, 3 colors.
It gets us through the roads without crashing into each other.
Or numbers.
Yeah.
What code 1, code 2, whatever. I digress.
DEFCON.
Yeah, DEFCON. And then we went away from that, and then we're on colors on that now. I don't understand any of this shit. Anyway, I digress as normal. We were talking right before the show started. We were kind of complaining about the selfishness of Southern California and making it difficult to get across to people dog training. And so I asked Gary, we teach this stuff, and again, when we're teaching dog behavior, we're teaching to the human, to the family, and we're always, frustrated that people don't commit. In fact, before I ask the question, I'm going to say that when I go to a family, and it's a pretty serious, well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if it's serious or not that big a deal. I haven't actually sit down and done the math, but I'm willing to bet that 33% of the time the people actually put the work in and turn things around. I'm going to say 33% of the time.
Wow. Do
you think it's higher than that or lower?
That's hard to say because, I have to go on who do I get repeat calls from? Other than that, I don't really have a way of judging what.
Well, let's put the repeat people over here for just a second, because my philosophy is,
I mean, are you just going on a bare guess because
I'm
we
totally
don't get a
bare
chance?
guess.
We don't get a chance to reevaluate these people, so we're just going off of the
Total bare
evaluation
guess.
that we did on the owners during the first lesson.
Yeah.
How many we think are going to carry through with it?
Well, I could, if I actually did sit down and get off my lazy ass, I could look at it this way. I could just focus on just the little red dog community and say, okay, someone adopted from us, they're frustrated. We see either myself or you will go out. Sometimes Carlo, whatever. And I would say in that scenario, it's probably 50-50.
yeah.
In just that scenario. However, when I have to go to someplace else that's outside of the little red dog, in other words, it's a family that didn't know us, they just know that we're good at dog behavior training, and so they'll hire us. The math gets a little fuzzier on whether it's going to be, or whether it's successful or not, because of the way that I tune it. I say, look, we're going to show you something. We're not going to leave until you get it. We're going to give you homework. We are going to check in, but we're going to put the onus on you to get the shit done and put the work in.
Yep.
And the way that we know you're doing it correctly is you're not whining 2 weeks from now or a month from now.
Yep.
Okay? And I think that's kind of fair. And I actually love this on as a salesmanship type promise, because we could easily fleece you.
Oh yeah. Go in and give you a
Easily
script and
Yeah.
walk out without
Yeah.
ever addressing your real issues.
You're going to need to see us once a week for 6 months.
Oh yeah, no, the service contracts. Yeah, that's how a lot of people
Yeah.
approach it in our industry. They say, you need 6 months worth of service
Yes.
contracts. We're going to meet you once a week. You're going to
Yes.
pay for them all up in advance.
Yes.
No, people love the fact I tell them, this is our fee, and if you listen, you do the work, you take it to heart, then you will only have to see us once, and not just once for this dog.
Right.
It works for every dog you have from now on.
Right.
So it's a great sales point.
And I think, again, if I was in this, and I should say we, because I do see you as a partner, I know we could make a lot more money.
Oh yeah.
For sure, we could.
Yeah.
It's easy to sell people on this concept, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying, in my mind, I'm doing this for the dog. And if your ass isn't competent enough to listen to me and execute, then you don't deserve the dog, and we're going to get the dog anyway. Then,
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's
No, at that point,
I think it's the proper way to look at it.
I definitely see that, there's no benefit in not being square with people. If I don't think that a person has a capacity to do it, and I just had to do it for the first time. A lady, she was an older woman, and she had a Chihuahua who was not going with the program.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the 90-minute lesson, this dog tried to attack me from the time I walked in till the time I walked out. No changes. Now I could correct the dog, and the dog would run from me and everything.
Right.
But the problem is she just didn't have it in her to do it. So
Sure.
for the first time in my 18 years of doing this, I had to try to exclusively teach the lady how to positive reinforcement teach a dog out of a behavior like that. And it's just because she didn't have the capacity to, give a solid correction.
And that's kind of where I wanted the conversation to go is, I think we do I'm prejudiced, but I know one thing that we do well for sure, and that's we lay down the rules and the law, and we scientifically, through biology, explain to you why dogs think the way that they do, your role as a human to the dog. I know we do an amazing job in this aspect, okay? My question is, once we do this, why are there still so many failures? My gut instinct, and it's my opinion, it just boils down to selfishness and laziness, right?
Yeah. I think what you're doing is you're taking it and you're forcing it into a black and white issue. And absolutely, I think that it would be an astounding rate of people if you do it like that. But I tend to think of most things in shades of gray.
Sure.
So the amount of people that we go out to and don't do any of the stuff we say is probably pretty slim. The amount that take it and do everything we say just the way we say it's also pretty slim. So yeah, it's somewhere in the middle who's hitting that most of the stuff we gave them to.
Right.
So that's probably the greatest part of people.
Right.
And, it's the part that requires the most work. That's going to be the part that's probably scrubbed first out of the routine.
Right. Right. And so I guess, what I'm trying to solve or get across to people and it's the same message, and no one wants to hear it, is not everyone should get a dog.
Absolutely.
You know, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Not everyone should jump out of airplanes.
Ride a motorcycle.
Not everyone should ride a. I'm not going to jump out of an airplane. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not wired that way. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So on the dog aspect, dog ownership requires you to learn, whether you want to or not, how to be a leader. You don't have to be the world's best leader. You just have to be the leader in reference to the dog.
How good of a leader you have to be is all dependent on the dog you pick.
Absolutely.
There's dogs that you can do everything wrong, and that buddy will still be there laying down next to you following every order you didn't give.
That's right.
And then you have dogs that, you have to keep eye contact with that dog 24/7 or it's on the verge of going sideways.
Right. And the other avenue I kind of wanted to go down, because you said you had a session with a teacher.
Yes.
And you were talking about maybe these new teachers are all about nurturing.
Yes.
Leaders absolutely need to be nurturing. In my opinion, good leadership doesn't start there. You need to have that intertwined.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to talk about that is because the way my brain works and how I perform in any situation, whether it be sports, whether it be business, as a son, as a father, I totally will just crumple up in a little ball around someone who's very temperamental, bossy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My best scenario is high school coaches. We're always bullies.
Yeah.
At least when I was growing up.
Oh, yeah. No, they were
Right?
hard.
Right.
Absolutely. I did a few sports, and, like my wrestling coach,
Yeah.
he was a complete dick.
And how did you perform with that?
I didn't stay
environment?
on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I loved doing it. I was successful at doing it. I was a tall, skinny kid and a bunch of short kids in my weight class. So I was killing it. But
Right.
just being beat down like that wasn't, for me.
But why do you think some human beings seem to be okay? I don't even say okay. They almost thrive in that type of environment. I
think
don't.
that there's just people who need a certain level of supervision and direction, and that, if you know that you're that person, there's people like, I was always directed by my family, you should go into the military, and I have brothers who that type of discipline worked like a charm for them.
Right.
But for me personally, I cannot operate under those type of constraints.
Right.
So, I think that some people it works for, and the modern teacher, is very freeform in the sense that, they are trying to really figure out what makes every student tick. And in that, we're getting better teachers out of it.
Right.
But in that, they're also trying to direct them away from the strict disciplinarian, what used to be the rules of school, the solid, we're going to have all of our desks in a row.
Right.
We're all going to learn the same thing. We're all going to do standardized. They're trying to get away from that.
Right.
And that's probably good for education.
Right.
But the techniques that we're losing in that, the ability to get to that level of correction, that prison guard that we had as teachers.
Right.
I think that that's going away. So I think if I had to pick a profession
Right.
that I see, in lessons the most, teachers are high on it.
Interesting. Well, the one thing I think that you said that was super spot on and interesting is when you mentioned that trying to understand how each student ticks. Mm-hmm. Because I do talk about that when I'm training a dog.
Yeah.
Especially if you have more than one dog. And when you have more than one child, it's the same mindset.
Yep.
What motivates one dog or what motivates one child is not going to be necessarily the same thing for the other dog or child, right?
Yes.
So I do think I am firmly on board with the leader trying to understand and figure out what motivates this one dog and what works with the other dog, right? It's great if it's all the same, but it's never going to be.
No.
And I think that's what good leaders do. Of course, a dog or a human being will need a little bit more of a hammer, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that you are a bully.
Yeah.
Right.
It plays into the humble warrior.
Yeah, right,
You
I
have
agree.
to be empathetic as a leader. You can't be
agree.
unempathetic, and you
Right.
can't not be a leader. You have to
Right.
put the two together, and you become the right dog owner.
And as we always stress, it is in my opinion, it is the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Oh,
to
absolutely.
stay in that mindset,
Absolutely.
right? And it's what brings me around to this is why people just give up because
Yeah.
they don't want to even try.
It's hard.
It's so hard. It's
Yeah.
so hard. I mean, I got in a big argument, almost close to fisticuffs with a foster 2 weeks ago on what we're just talking about. This Dulcinea, one of their fosters, they just kept telling me this dog is dog reactive. And I said, that is your perception that the dog is
Yes.
reactive. Now, and I literally twice, I've done this for them, just them. I took the dog around other dogs. Dulcinea was perfect. Okay? And they kept saying, well, but. They never wanted to take the blame and say, to teach themselves how to the tools so that Dulcinea, the dog, would perceive them as leaders.
Yeah. No, I tell people every lesson I go out on, make me a list of the issues that you have.
Right.
And we're going to address them one at a time. And I get there. You know, the dog won't go in the kitchen when I'm there. The dog won't walk in front when I'm there. And I'm like, if you can see all this, then you clearly know that it's not the dog.
Right.
So you, by the reasoning of deduction, you have to think it's me.
Right.
So what can I do that's like him to get the dog to do that?
Right. And it's funny to me, the people, I don't know, maybe sometimes they're just not self-aware and they don't understand that when we're talking, I'm talking to the owner, and the owner, I can tell within seconds, the owner has no ability to be a leader or the confidence necessary, or they're going to go too far the other way.
Yep.
And so you try to break that down. So it is always on the human's checklist what they should work on to make the dog better. And as stubborn as I am, and egotistical, and a jerk and a jackass, I am always willing to keep an open mind about self-improvement.
Absolutely.
In any way.
Yeah.
And I do mean that. I do. And you know I'm a jackass. You know I can be a dick. But I do try to cling on to self-improvement.
Yep.
And it blows my mind when other people don't want to.
No, I tell people all the time, self-exploration is imperative to being a good human being.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you're not checking yourself, then, it's going to be foreign when other people
You
do.
better check yourself.
Check it.
Check it. All right. I think that's how we sign off. You check it. Check yourself. And why would you not want to do that? Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please visit us at thelittlereddog.org. Adopt, volunteer, foster, donate, do something. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.